a great opening session from the stalwarts of the industry and setting a great stage on how the digital transformation is important, how we are in this journey of from compute, from connectivity to compute to cloud now. So what I would like to discuss and get your view on is what would it take to transform digitally the industries and move it into a next phase, which is Industry 4.0. And we have seen IoT M2M has been there for a couple of decades now. It's all about sensing, connectivity, compute, and then analytics. And the feedback loop goes back and helps us make better decisions. So what is going to be changed with 5G coming in? And how it's going to transform the overall industry or different use cases, applications to start with?
Thanks, Neil, and good morning to all of you. And it was a wonderful session by all the stalwarts. Of course, I got to learn a lot hearing those things. And like Mr. Arun mentioned, there are constructive and there are destructive use cases that are happening. And see, it's all about, if I'm talking about 5G, so let me start from the adoption perspective, right? So I've been talking to lots of executives, analysts, and customers across the globe. And if you talk about, let's say, 2 years back, there was lack of pace in adoption. But in last 2 years, there are lots of things happening. Pace is picking up, and things are happening, across in terms of how to transform the industries, how to transform the consumer experience, and take it forward. So while America, or I would say North America in, overall as a market, is leading that space, there are countries like Brazil and South Korea also have picked up space and picked up pace in last 2 years, and thanks to their liberalization of spectrum in the country. So that is that shows that spectrum is very much, or spectrum for enterprise sector is very much important to pick up the pace in this area. Having said that, if you look at the deployment perspective, I think first line of deployment is mobile private network, and most of the mobile private network these days are 5G centric, and that's where it's the start. And I think lots of things are happening, and that mobile private network is becoming the center of all the changes or transformation that is happening, and it's really happening in the world right now. And second, if you look at from manufacturing side or the factory side, there are lots of they're tied up with lots of cables in the factory, and that makes them less agile. And that's where they're looking at 5G to reimagine the shop floor, to bring automation, bring transformation in terms of connectivity. And that's where it makes them agile. That's where it makes them simple, or bring simplicity into the environment. And that's where the point is. So when you're talking about 5G, it's not about just the connectivity. It's the operation technology that we are talking about now. So things are changing, so we have to think from that perspective. We have to think from how we can bring solution angle to the industry, how we can bring operational transformation to the industries, rather than just the connectivity solutions.
That's great. So when we look at IoT, and there are different technologies that enable it, as you said, we see there are two things which we look at output of the IoT. Either you want to save money or you want to make money, right? Or you want to save lives or you want to enrich lives, right? That is where you use most of the IoT use cases. And with respect to 5G, you said private network is growing. We have seen some good implementations, like you said, in North America. In Australia, we have seen with different 5G in mines. In China, they're deploying in most of the factories. It's one of the largest manufacturing hub, right? So we have seen 5G connected private networks within the factories, right from what Airtel is also piloting right now with respect to AGVs and stuff. So since you are at the center of the ecosystem with integrating all of these technologies together, building a solution, right? So what are the key challenges you hear about when you try to offer this kind of solutions, 5G enabled solutions?
Okay, so see, I think it's more about business model or operating model transformation. Like I said, it's not just a communication technology or connectivity that we are talking about these days. So, for example, if I'm going to a manufacturing company and if I say I'll give you 5G as a solution, they'll ask what difference it would make. So that's where I think we need to think about how we can solve the problem of the industry. So in terms of problem solving, we have to, it's an ecosystem play. So we have to sit together, we have to look at the business case, we have to look at the problem statements of particular industry, of particular country, demography, everything we have to take into consideration before we get into the solution. And so one example that I could take is, in one of the countries when I went there, so the problem was the enterprise or the industry that I was talking to, they were not able to understand what a telco is coming with the solution. So that's where we sat with telcos, we sat with enterprise, that industry, and looked at their business case and see how we can transform their manufacturing floor. And there are 5 use cases that we have identified, starting from the manufacturing of their equipments to the dispatch, sorting and dispatch side. So the overall solution was built on the theme of the cost saving as well as revenue generation. So we started with the last one, which is sorting and dispatch. So there were issues in terms of supply side. So they were having a lot of demand, but they were not able to fulfill the supply. So that's where first we sorted out the sorting and dispatch. We automated it, and we kind of bring, using 5G, we did a real-time vision analytics on their sorting dispatch system. And believe it or not, their supply was doubled in 1 month. So that's the kind of solution that they were looking for. And like I said, it's the ecosystem where telecom vendors were there, we were there. There were equipment suppliers, like I think one of the speakers said, that we have to bring all those people together to create that solution. And it has to be customized for a specific organization, for a specific country. You cannot just use a cookie cutter solution for such things. And in terms of, if you look at business model, it cannot be just, the traditional business model of design, deploy, and get paid. It has to be something like an outcome-based business model. That's when, it'll add value to the customers.
So, if someone deploys, we see a lot of IoT deployments, especially in 5G. They are almost 70. There's a stat. 70% of them fail at the pilot stage, right? Obviously, there are multiple issues with that in terms of the right set of integration partners, right set of technologies which are being used or recommended, right? So where do you see an inflection point for industries adopting 5G? Now we have a very good infrastructure, whether it's Jio, Airtel, BSNL, and others, Vodafone Idea also coming up with 5G. So infrastructure is not an issue. Capacity is not an issue, right? So then it comes down to SLA, right, for enterprises, the 5 nines of the world. So where do you see will be the inflection point in India in coming years, and which verticals are you see will see the most inflection point or adoption for 5G?
See, I'll go to the last point first, which industry and where it is going. So see, if you look at prioritization of the use cases, it is specific to country, specific to geography. For example, if I look at Netherlands, they have lots of ports. So they would be interested in ports use case. If I go to Australia or Brazil, it will be mining. And if I go to Middle East, it will be oil and gas, right? So so that's where it is. So every country has their own challenges, own priorities. And similarly in India, we may be looking at education sector as one of the key things. And of course, manufacturing, which is picking up, and lots of things, lots of manufacturing are now happening in India. So that would be one of the very key sector to focus on. And globally, if I look at, I think more than 60% of the use cases or focus is coming from manufacturing industry, transports and logistics, and energy and mining. So other than that, there are education, there is media and entertainment, and there is healthcare, which is picking up these use cases very frequently. So that's where lots of things are happening, and we have to look at from that perspective that I think you mentioned 70% of the pilots are failing, but I think that's where I think we started too early. That was a story of let's say 2 years back. But these days, when we are doing a pilot, we are looking at the business case. Okay, we are looking at the use case that industry is looking at, and then we are doing a pilot. So earlier, what used to do is, okay, set up a private 5G network for me, and that's a pilot. Okay, without looking at what it is going to generate for them.
So just looking for a problem.
Yes, so that's where it was failing. So now, but it's changing now. So people are looking at from solution perspective, not just the network perspective.
Great. So any predictions in terms of inflection point for India specific you're seeing?
See, I don't want to predict here, but
Sorry to put you in the spot.
yeah, but yeah, I think there are lots of investment happening from government side as well. So there are, I think, hundreds of labs that are being set up by government for doing investment in the 5G ecosystem, the innovation in the 5G side for enterprises, for consumer. And similarly, there are initiatives happening on converting villages into intelligent village. So those kind of initiatives are happening. So in India, in last 2 years, I think Mr. Shah mentioned about the transformation that happened. I think Mr. Lohatia mentioned that in last 2 years, the 5G deployment that happened in India, that was the fastest in the world. And that's where government plays a very good role. If you look at bringing innovation, boosting the startups, investing in the startups, so taking them to world, that is where it's going to make a difference. And it's soon we are going to see the these deployment in live in India. Yeah.
Great. I'll address the elephant in the room. Is we have not talked about AI, right? So how AI can drive the inflection point, if like the merger of 5G, AI, cloud. How do you see? Is it an accelerator for these use cases?
Of course, I think Gen AI is a buzzword these days, but to be frank, lots of trials, lots of people are doing stuff. In fact, every industry, every organization is focusing on what Gen AI can do to help them do the things faster, help them generate the revenues, make it efficient, cost saving, everything. So when I talk about Gen AI along with 5G, it's going to make a lot of difference. Okay, so for example, if I talk about network management, right? So how AI can look at the network, predict the data that is being flowing, and shift the network topology so that the consumer or the organization can immediately see the benefit. So that's the kind of changes that Gen AI can bring in. Also, if you look at I think we talked about constructive and destructive, both the side of the use cases. So I'm just talking about the constructive side. So if you look at from consumer perspective, lots of data is being pushed on the edge or the consumer side, right? So when the processing happens on the consumer side, there are lots of reuse or a requirement of 5G that is required to get that kind of data into the system and process it and gives the real-time feedback. So it is very important for use cases like smart cities, for connected vehicles, where split-second decisions are required. So that's where Gen AI can play a very good role. Security is another angle. I think one of the speakers spoke about that. Security is very, very much important because lots of data is there, lots of devices are coming in. So how you can bring or monitor security at the runtime and block the threats at the runtime is very important. Again, Gen AI can play a very good role there. So that's some of these things that I can think of.
That's great. One final question from my end. Which is the topmost use case closer to your heart for 5G, which you feel, oh, 5G should be there, it will disrupt this particular use case or application?
So I think I'll take two there. So one from enterprise side, I think manufacturing is one of the key. So since I started with that, the sorting, dispatch, or manufacturing side of the world, so I saw that happening, that how it can change the lives of the manufacturing floor, and how it can bring efficiencies, identify the defects on the runtime, stopping the products getting built. Before, due to that anomaly being detected earlier, and similarly increasing the revenue from sorting dispatch perspective. And the second, if you look at from the consumer side, so lots of things being talked about that we are only focusing on enterprise, right? But consumer segment is also very key. Lots of things or lots of changes happening on the consumer side. So there are things like digital life that is people being subscribing to. So that is generating lots of data, and that's where 5G can play a very big role, and that's where the change is. So having said that, I'll maybe end it with one of the incident. I actually recalled that when Mr. Shah was talking about 1990s and all. So I just had a 25th reunion at my college. So don't get surprised, I look young. Uh, so we were talking to one of the first year student, and somehow that STD booth thing came up because we were standing there where used to be STD booth. So I asked her, do you know what STD booth is? She said, yeah, I saw it in movies. Okay, so I said, oh, okay, fine. So my point is, what they used to see or they see in movies, we used to do at that time, and what we used to see in movies at that time is really happening now. So it's a really amazing change or amazing world that we are getting into, and really excited to look forward to these, implementing these things with reality.
Great, fascinating. Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
thoughts.